In this lesson, we are going to practice more. So far, we've learned all the new things that we're going to learn as far as factoring goes, where you just have to put it all together. And it's important that you know what you're looking for. So the first thing you look for is to take out a GCF. Remember, it's the biggest number that can go into each term and the smallest exponent. Then from there, you look to see if it's a trinomial. That means 3 terms. Or you look to see if it's 2 terms, if you can factor with your square roots, difference of perfect squares. So that's what we're going to do today. To make things a little bit neater, like I've been doing, I kept my paper answer key up so that way hopefully you can see things a little bit better. So let's look at exercise number 1. Here we have this trinomial, 4x squared plus 20x plus 24. And what I did was I rewrote it here, 4x squared plus 20x plus 24. And you can see what I did underneath is I divided each term by 4. Because what I did was I took out a GCF. 4 is the GCF. And then here I factored. I put my GCF in the front, right here. And then in the parentheses are my leftovers. So then what you have to do is look at what's inside these parentheses. X squared plus 5x plus 6. So we factored it, but what we did is we didn't completely factor it. What's in parentheses is a trinomial. So you say to yourself, can I find 2 numbers that multiply to 6 and add up to 5? And that's what I did here. Well, you sure can. 2 times 3 gives you 6. 2 plus 3 gives you 5. Erase all my junk. So what we have here is our final factored answer. And I always forget to bring the GCF down, so I just put a little note there that you should do that. Okay, let's look at number 2, A and B. It's just more of the same practice. So what I would like for you to do for each one of these problems, when you start feeling comfortable, pause the video, try the problem, and then hit play so you can check your work. It is the best way to get good at these things. Okay, so let's take a look at letter A. Oh, by the way, for all of these problems, you're going to have a GCF and then something else, so be ready for that. So the first thing I did was I took out a GCF of 3x, and I put that right here. Then I put my leftovers here in this darker colored ink. X squared minus 7x plus 12. So looking just inside the parentheses, I say, there's 3 terms. What can multiply to 12 right here and add up to negative 7? Well, I know negative 4 times negative 3 gives me 12, and negative 4 plus negative 3 gives me negative 7. So I brought those 2 numbers down, and then this is my completely factored answer. Now I know you can see a little bit of letter B over there, but pause the video and give this one a try. Take out a GCF and then factor with a trinomial. All right, so you can see I took a 7 out of each term, and then I got this part. This is factoring with my GCF right there, okay? My GCF's in the front. Then I look at this trinomial that I squared up in pink, and can I find 2 numbers that multiply to negative 10, but add up to a positive 3? So when I think multiply to negative 10, I know one of them has to be negative and one of them has to be positive. So instead of adding, I think subtract. And I come up with, whoopsie, I don't oh, that's just a scribble. I know 5 minus 2 gives me 3. But the question is, which one's going to be negative and which one's going to be positive? Let me clear this and start over. So I know I have a 5 and a 2. One of them's negative, one of them's positive. Look here, we're adding to a positive 3. So that means our bigger sign is positive, which means this one is negative. And that's how I got those two numbers. Now, when we turn the page, we're still going to do the same thing, except this time we're going to do difference of perfect squares. GCF, then dots. So here we go. It says write each of the following binomials in completely factored form. So you always try to do GCF first, then difference of perfect squares. So you can see I took my GCF out of 2, put that in the front, leftovers in the parentheses. Then I was left with 2 terms. So we can't do the trinomial way. But I know if I square root my x squared, remember you cut your exponent in half, you get x to the 1, and the minus has to be there. I'm square rooting a positive 9, and I get 3. So because I can square root every term, I can do difference of perfect squares. So my x goes here, and my 3 goes right there. So what I'd like you to do, pause the video, try all 4 or the rest of the 3 of these, and I'll catch you back and show you your work, my work. Okay, so hopefully you've tried all of these problems. Pause the video, check, make sure that yours matches mine. With the exception, when you do difference of perfect squares, your plus signs and your minus signs can be reversed. So a fine way to factor this would be to write 5x and then x plus 2, running out of room, x minus 2, okay? The minus and the plus sign can switch. What cannot switch is the order that you write the letters and numbers. My dogs are going crazy in the background, of course. So what I'd like you to do for number 4, you can see a little bit of my work. It's going to be all mixed up. GCF, but then it could be either trinomial or difference of perfect squares. So try these again and then pause your video, and when you come back, I'll have the answers up for you to check. So what I'd like you to do is take a moment and check your work. You can hopefully see I took the GCF out in a lighter blue, and then I did my other type of factoring in a darker. And then I just wrote what type I was doing. You don't have to write that. I did that because I knew people were going to be looking at my work. The last one, letter D. Sometimes, and this is what makes things so confusing, I took out my GCF and I was left with a trinomial. This can be factored, but we are not going to learn this type of factoring. So every so often, once you get to this point, all you can do is take out a GCF. It doesn't mean you did something wrong. It just means that's the end of it. So now we're going to do, or you are going to do more practice. So on page 14, I'll show you a couple more problems, and then you're going to be doing the rest of this on your own as a homework, and you can check your answers during class time. So now here are my answers to page 14. Hopefully you're not just copying. Hopefully you've tried these problems and you're checking your work. That's the best way to learn, not to just copy my stuff. And if you're stuck on something, make a little mark and then ask when you get to school, when you get into class. That is, again, the best way to learn this stuff. Let me move down to the multiple choices now. So these are tricky ones. This is what you might see on, say, a Regents exam. Number 5, which of the following is not a factor? So what I did here was I factored fully. I did GCF and trinomial, and I got 4x, x plus 6, and x minus 3. So what that really means, 4x is a factor, x plus 6 is a factor, and x minus 3 is a factor. So if you look at all your options, that's the only one that's not part of the answer. And then number 6, it says, which of the following is the missing factor? So see how they have this little blank space? What I did was I factored, and here's my answer. So the 2 is already put in there. The x minus 1 is here, so the x plus 6 is missing. There's only so many things you will get tested on. So when in doubt, just do what you know, and then once you work out a problem, chances are the answer will just kind of pop up when you're doing multiple choice.